in the shape of the curve. This one over here, you see, is more horizontal. It has lower compliance. The more vertical your curve is, the greater your compliance. This one look what happened now. See how horizontal this one is and how wide? I've given it a lot of resistance. So it takes a lot of pressure to begin to open it, and then it gets past that lower inflection point and begins to come up. We don't reach all the way out. Let me see what happens here when we do. Get this one deflected. See how it made that big inflection out?
Mm-hmm.
That's what's called the upper inflection point. We've over-distended. If you over-distend the person's lungs, that is what is going to take place. This one here, and we will look at these graphics all the time. This one here, Puritan Bendate 40. Back over here. Now, instead of doing a pressure volume curve, what we've done is we have a pressure time on the top, and I have flow on the bottom. With flow, I can look at the flow over time. I reach a peak flow right away. Let me change my scale here. See it easier. But if I change my patient's airway resistance, you see a very big difference in the patient's flow curve on both inspiratory and expiratory. Now it just slopes back down, as opposed to...
Now what are these for, Mr. Dyer? These things that
well, we will use them in class to be able to simulate different conditions.
Okay.
For instance, that one
You're
over
not
there...
going to use that in the hospital setting?
No, this is going to be for calibrating machines, for testing machines. When we performance validate them, we're going to hook them up to this. This is the Draeger Avita. Stanford loves the Avitas. They have them everywhere. This Puritan Bendate 40s. Both of these will ventilate from a neonate all the way up through an adult. We just changed the settings on it. This one is the Servo I. The Servo I is the only one that has what is called NAVA. NAVA is neuro-activated ventilatory assist. Instead of it sensing an airway pressure, so my patient wants to take a breath, creates a negative pressure here, which it reads then if the patient wants a breath. it reads it off of the phrenic nerve. And so when the patient thinks, or when the patient's impulses are there to breathe, it ventilates. It not only ventilates, but it reads how strong the impulse is, and it adjusts the tidal volume, the flows, and everything to that.
Wow.
So what we do is we then dial in what percent augmentation we want. So this many millivolts of a neuro impulse will equal this tidal volume. And we do that to titrate it. Works very well in asthmatic patients because they're air trapped so much that they don't generate the airway pressure at the mouth changes because the air is trapped in the chest. Instead, it reads it off the phrenic nerve. Also, it's used well with patients who have spinal cord injuries because the phrenic nerve can still be intact and we can go ahead and pace off of it. Kind of neat when they did the demo at one of the conferences, the salesperson had the sensor put in and he stood over here and the ventilator was over there with a set of lungs. And as he would talk, you'd see the lungs would change in size as to how much they were ventilating. And then he'd go like this, and all of a sudden you see the lungs would pump way up again.
Wow.
It's all run by brain waves. So they're the first ones to run on that particular. Now this one, we will again do I'll make one more than the other. We can also adjust the resistance on through, but we're going to go ahead it's going to plot out very slowly. And if you see the lungs are just slowly going up, it actually pauses along the way so it gets a static pressure to eliminate that flow issue. And then here is, for this one right now, the pressure volume curve. I'll come along and say, I want to know their compliance. And that part, the curve, and up to there. That means I can have my tidal volume between 375 and 500 milliliters. I know that my compliance is going to be 58.9 milliliters per centimeter water pressure. And at the end of my curve, on expiration, it is slightly higher compliance than it was on inspiration. If I change this person, all over again. Procedure, right again. Start. Now it's going to do the gradual stair step again. With a maneuver like this, I would not want to do it very frequently on a patient, and they'd have to be sedated because this is how the patient's breathing.
why would you use that setting for a patient?
I would use this just to test to find out where the optimum place to ventilate the person is. So when I have a patient with ARDS, for instance, a patient with ARDS has very, very stiff lungs. And in their case, let's see if I can make this one work. These rooms are really, really small. This one will have constant resistance all the way through. Let me get back here and get an adapter. We keep all kinds of respiratory departments always have to have lots of different kinds of adapters, just because that's what we do. We tinker and we make things.
I know that's gonna be stuck in my head when I work.
Close encounters. Look, you just answered.
You notice how the volume went up, or that air blast of air comes out? That's because we have what's called PEEP. And it's saying, I'm trying to maintain PEEP, but there's nothing there. You've got a leak. But it will compensate for leaks. I want to do this. One more adapter. Yeah, you throw those down there. These two guys here, both of them have been intubated earlier today.